What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to an impromptu live edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Podcast Superstar Scores Edition. I am your host, as always, Tony Mago, joined as always by Robert E. Fleece.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
Hello.
We're doing Superstar Scores, Robin Williams?
No, I was thinking more so the thing from Seinfeld. The hello. The do-do-do.
I love Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's so good. I was just talking the other day about how good it is. Specifically about the episode where Elaine wants to get the delivery, and it's just like right the apartment complex, like across the street from her or something.
And I just want to say real quick, like, everyone thinks they're Costanza, but I think honestly, you and I, you're Jerry and I'm George. It's just...
Well, that's not what we're talking about today for this edition.
It's not the summer of George, it is St. Patrick's Day.
It's St. Patrick's Day, and as I had mentioned before, we didn't really have any game plan for this month, and I was like, it's fine, we'll come up with plenty of ideas. And I didn't. I continue to not come up with ideas, but Rob thankfully continues to come up with ideas, and then I go, good idea, let's go ahead and just do that. So, since it is St. Patrick's Day, that was one of the ideas pitched around was, why don't we do a Superstar Scores, which we said before, we haven't done Superstar Scores in a while, of Hornswoggle. Now, this is already pretty far of a departure from most of the Superstar Scores that we've done in the past. And we've done 36 of these, I think. And they're all typically like, I mean, we got some outliers, but it's like, you know, Shawn Michaels and Triple H and The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Goldberg, like, you know, these people who we do them a lot when they're retiring. We do them when they're like, you know, a big person in the news for a particular reason, you know, unfortunately with their passings, like Bray Wyatt. And then every so often we throw another person in there that's like a Bob Holly or a Steve Blackman or Buff Bagwell or something. It's been a long time since we've done something like that. Like our last bunch has been Psycho Sid, Sting, CM Punk, you know, Ronda Rousey, et cetera, and this will be, I think this is 38 actually, the 38th one of these. Hornswoggle is very different from those people that we've done in the past. So it's going to work the same as everything else, because if we change the rules of stuff, then we have no real metric to be able to figure this out. So I'm going to explain how this works if you're brand new to the Superstar Scores. And if you want to go back and check out other episodes and see how we did with different scores. In particular, I recommend going back and checking out the episode where we kind of like redid some of our scores, because we were like, you know, since then, this person's done better, this person's done worse, et cetera. But it is pretty simple overall. And each category, we have, you know, an explanation, we have the scores, all that stuff. So before we get into that, though, keep in mind, throughout we do this, we want to know what your scores are. So drop your ideas in the comments below. It's 1 to 10, or actually it's technically 0 to 10. I mean, technically speaking, we could go negatives. I don't know if we've done negative numbers for anybody for anything yet, but, you know, hey, there's always a first for everything. So 10 is the highest score you can get, though. And as we do our different ones, drop your scores and then your ultimate score at the end of there. So if you're on YouTube in particular, make sure that you hit the like button on this video. Make sure that you subscribe, ring the notification bell, get your emails alert. It's set up for, like, I mean, this is a live episode. We didn't plan on doing this. So that way you get that email that just goes, hey, look at that, they're live. And you go, oh, shit, let me log on. And normally we wouldn't be able to do this anyway, because right now it's 9:58 and we would be watching Monday Night Raw. But yeah, I love having Monday Night Raw in the middle of the afternoon. I am already just 2 episodes down into this. I'm like, I want this to just be the thing going forward. Like, can you just go to different time zones all the time? Peter's in the chat. What's up, Peter? You ready to give a Superstar Scores ranking to Hornswoggle?
Peter, how was your St. Patrick's Day? Everyone's favorite WWE Smark Moment Hall of Famer.
How did everybody celebrate 316 Day as well? You know, you got that right after or right before St. Patrick's Day. If you're a drinker, it's probably just like blah, blah, blah. You know,
lots of excuses to get drunk, I see.
No spoilers. Please still have an hour left. You're watching Raw on like the p.m. side of things. We're not going to
Yeah.
spoil anything if that's the case. But the
Listen, the spoiler I'll have for you is you got through the good part in the first 30 minutes.
yeah, true.
That's amazing.
Also, though, keep in mind, everybody, if you want to help support us and you want to make sure that we continue to do the podcast going forward, especially when Skype goes down in May, and we are so curious about what we're going to do with that, then toss a little spare change our way through the different methods. There's a thank button, there's the join button, there's Patreon. You know, if you're listening to this outside of YouTube, then the Patreon's the best method for you to do that. YouTube, though, I like the YouTube channel membership quite a bit. I think that's the best one. Redbubble and TeePublic if you want to get some merchandise in mind. Keep in mind the Discord channel as well. That's always there for anybody that wants to join that. It's free to join. It's free to chat. Always love seeing like Gilly Zane and Domino and everybody like leaving comments and stuff. Also keep in mind the Smark Madness tournament, John Cena's best rival of all time. Go ahead and vote on that while you can. We are going to switch over to a new round on Wednesday. So you got a little bit of time more left to get through round 2. And let's start this Superstar Scores of Hornswoggle. Now, again, I will explain each category as we go along, and they are all very easy to understand, except for when we get to the backstage stuff, and then that's a little bit more confusing. But starting off is the ring skills side of things, and that is athleticism and psychology. Athleticism is purely their in-ring work when it comes to doing moves, and includes like their finisher. Do we like their moveset? Do they botch a lot? Are they somebody who you can work with anybody? And then psychology is the storytelling. If they get like their knee worked on during the match, do they continue to do that? Or do they just forget about that and act like it, you know, they lose that part of the story? Can they make a match interesting, or is it boring to watch them wrestle? Are they just a series of maneuvers and that kind of thing? So Hornswoggle, I'm going to say this, is not going to get great scores from me. I don't have scores in my head yet for this. I'm going to do it on a whim, but I can't imagine giving them a very high score for a lot of these. And that's not to like rag on the guy or anything. Never met him. Dylan Postal, I believe is his name.
I believe it's Postal.
Postal. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure Dylan's his first name. Yeah, he could be a great dude for all I know, and all these scores are not reflecting that. But let's face it, if it's like, hey, I'm going to give a 6 to Roddy Piper on athleticism, and I'm going to give a 5 to, say, Rob Van Dam on psychology or something like that, then it's not going to be high scores for Hornswoggle on that. Athleticism, I'm thinking maybe a 2.
Yeah. I've while you were talking there, I put in some filler scores. They might end up being my final ones, but I thought of a 4 for him here. I mean, it wasn't like we got to see a ton of his athletic prowess, but we did see, you know, he had a fun series of matches with El Torito.
I mean, the WLC is great, but the WLC is also just not a normal match. You know?
Well, they had the WLC and they also had the hair versus mask, which, you know, they got to have fun and show that like Hornswoggle could actually wrestle. They also regularly did the tadpole splash and took the whatever it was, the Green Bay plunge that Kennedy used to do off of a ladder at WrestleMania. So like he showed some athletic prowess. I'm gonna give him at least a 4.
He convinced me to go up to a 3. I don't know if I can get higher than and give him a 4, because 5 is baseline to me. And realistically speaking, how do I want to see somebody in an Iron Man match is kind of how I give the scores for the in-ring thing. 5s for an Iron Man would be like, all right, that's the most basic Iron Man match possible. And I don't think Hornswoggle would be a basic Iron Man match. Yeah, he's limited, and it's like that's, you know, that's something to keep in mind. But I'm still not going to just be like, hey, he's got an 8, you know. Now, psychology is better off with that. So, with the character that he had and everything, obviously, he wasn't wrestling normal matches. He was wrestling very few matches as it was. And the matches that he was in, they were things that are structured differently. But I'm going to say 6.
I'm again going with the 4 here. I mean, he had the things that we did get to see him do were kind of shitty, and they played on his condition. And I like some things were fun, like DX and Little People's Court. I just watched that the other day. Actually, it's a really trippy segment to see that, like Sean and Hunter. I look at it now and I go, all right, they went from Rebels to like now they're dads. They're just doing Nickelodeon dad humor. It's like, okay, 15 years removed or whatever it is, I can say I'm at peace with it. Right now I have him at a 4 because, like you said, 5 is baseline. We're gonna get to see a lot of baseline psychology in Hornswoggle matches. I mean, he was smart enough in character to ask Santa Claus for the ability to speak. So,
See,
I want you to know, as that sentence left my mind was like, what are we doing here? Like, wait. Yeah, hey, it's a thing that happened. It's how he started speaking on TV. I mean, let's talk about the actual character development here.
Well, then that could get us into, and I'm going to switch mine potentially around by the end of this. I might go down to a 5. I don't know. Mic skills, those 2 categories are charisma and character. So character itself is their actual gimmick. Charisma is that je ne sais quoi, that mic skill kind of thing, like the ability to cut a promo. Are they interesting when they actually talk, or are they interesting when they actually have something going on with their character, like a backstage segment or something like that? So charisma doesn't necessarily have to be pure mic skills, because let's face it, some people don't cut promos, and it's like they still have charisma because they are just exuding some kind of character work like that. And then you got some people like Jacob Fatu, who's like, he didn't need to talk for a while. People were like, that dude's charismatic. He starts talking and they're like, oh my God, why didn't you give him a mic sooner? So Christopher Marin's in the chat, 10 credibility, last cruiserweight champion.
I was going to make that joke. I do want to say, you've now beaten me to it. Thank you.
So
yes, I was going to make that joke.
With the character and the charisma stuff, he does get higher scores than with the athleticism and psychology in my mind. Mike skills, though, he didn't really talk for the majority of his career. He mostly like grunted and made like, kind of like noises and stuff, which was, of course, Vince McMahon was like, be a leprechaun and run around the ring and bite people on the ass and stuff.
Well, okay, so like, the fun thing for me with Hornswoggle is that for a while his gimmick name was legit Little Bastard.
Right.
Like, he was on the roster page in at least 2007 as Little Bastard. I think they realized they couldn't keep saying Little Bastard like that, and then came up with Hornswoggle. I don't know why, but
well, to hornswoggle somebody is like another, like, you bamboozled them.
I got that, but it's like, why? Like, who sat there? You think that was just straight Vince? You think he looked at him and went, Hornswoggle, you're gonna hornswoggle people? Like,
I have nothing to go by on this, but pure just like, let's see if I can put my psychology course to good use. It feels like a Bruce Pritchard to me.
Maybe by the end of this, but remind me to come back around to an off-topic thing about Bruce Pritchard.
On the air? Because we can just talk about it if you want to just...
Oh, well, yeah, I'll just get it out of the way. I'm watching, I had the Superstar channel up on my Samsung TV, and it's the Ricky Steamboat A&E thing, and they're going through the whole, in 91 when they changed him to a dragon, and it's Bruce Pritchard, and he goes, "We turned him into a dragon who breathes fire. Because that's what dragons do." And my mother about fell over laughing at the way that this grown 50-something, 60-something-year-old man was like, "But that's what they do. They breathe fire." And I just, very funny thing that just happened maybe about a week and a half ago in my life.
Wrestling is perpetually so fucking stupid.
Wrestling is so fucking stupid.
Just so often, it's just like, yeah, that's a whatever. Or like, I'll be explaining something to my wife, and it'll be like, I don't know, she'll ask a question. It'll be something like, "So has John Cena ever been a heel?" And I'll be like, "No, I mean, he was technically a heel before he started to become super popular when he was rapping on a bus and whatever." And she'd be like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, first off, it was that or whatever." And then I showed her a clip of him from UPW, I think is what it was.
Oh, doing the prototype.
Doing the prototype thing. And she's just like, "Oh my God, this is so bad." And I'm like, yeah.
Wrestling, and I think this is a great place to talk about Hornswoggle, because like wrestling is perpetually, you either get it and it's the best thing ever, or you can never respect someone who spends their time watching professional wrestling. And I have been on both ends of those equations, and it's the weirdest thing, because you've got a leprechaun character here who at one point just grunted, right? And then at one point they introduced the mini boogeyman to give him someone to fight. And then at one point he's running around with the Great Khali and a farting Natalia.
And then at another point, he's Vince McMahon's kid.
Right. And they're legit pitching, "Hey, what if you throw him in a pillowcase and throw him off a bridge and kill him?"
And then you get this amazing thing at WrestleMania 24 where it's JBL just fucking launching a trash can at him.
Right. And it's
that was the first WrestleMania that I had watched like properly in a good number of years, because 23 I was just starting to like get back into it. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll like find a stream online or something and kind of like watch and, you know, like see what's up and whatever. Like I was still like flirting with the idea about becoming a wrestling fan again. And by Mania 24, not only was I like fully back into it, but I was like on message boards and stuff by then and all. And I go over to Dace's house and it's like, oh man, I really want this person to win Money in the Bank. And I'm really looking forward to this like Undertaker feud because this has been like fucking amazing. Like I'm fully into it, but I hadn't gone and like met up with people and watched a pro wrestling show yet. And that's like the first match of the show, I think, or it's like one of the first matches.
No, it's it opens the show.
And myself, Dace, and a bunch of other people start busting out laughing at that fucking moment. And we're all just like, I mean, it's got to go downhill from here, right? Like, it's like, how are you going to top this? This feud was stupid as all hell. And JBL's just like, yeet. You know?
And like, well, that's another thing. The way they get themselves out of the McMahon thing is just by having Finley be like, I don't know, I guess he's actually my son. Haha. We got you. And
did they ever really try to say that it was his son?
Yeah, that was the deal. Finley was his father.
And then now you have Uriah Connors.
Right. Eventually, Hornswoggle will return to be by his side.
But there's also another character element that needs to be factored into there too. So it's like all these things all over the place with Hornswoggle. The anonymous Raw general manager. Now that was not planned to be Hornswoggle.
I was gonna say I don't count that.
But they eventually just decided, well, we don't want to do this anymore, so let's just get rid of it by saying it was Hornswoggle. And I hated that with a passion, because I actually, for the most part, thought that that was a fun gimmick. Having the Raw general manager just beep and it being like, oh, fuck you, what is he going to do now? And Michael Cole was getting a lot of heat and, you know, announcing, like, as per the anonymous Raw general manager, this match is now blah, 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 or something like that. And I was waiting for so long for that to end up being like, it's actually Michael Cole just doing that.
Is that who you thought it was, Michael Cole?
I thought it was going to be, it's Cole this entire time. So yeah, it's just Michael Cole's been like pressing a button and then being like, oh, I'm going to go up and do the announcement and, you know, just do that. And when I was like, okay, it doesn't seem like they're going to go in that direction, but they're going to do something else. Maybe they'll do something where it'll be somebody else's behind the scenes. That's pretty interesting. Maybe it's going to be like a legend coming back or something. And when they did the Hornswoggle reveal, I was just like, fuck you. I get that you think that this is funny, but it's not. And I hated that. Now, that's not Hornswoggle's fault. Hornswoggle was told to do all these stupid things. And this was just to make Vince laugh. So he doesn't get diminished for that purpose, but it is still the character that he had to work with. So if we're judging the character on that kind of stuff, he loses some points, he gains some points. The Leprechaun gimmick when it was heel, I thought was horrendous. When he was a babyface, I thought it was kind of stupid, but I understood it. And you had, like, you know, Hornswoggle running around in the ring and, like, playing, like, pranks on people and stuff. Like, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. He's kind of this era's Doink.
Wow. That's a...
Think about it. He wasn't he?
But I guess not. Jeez, fuck.
Because we didn't have Doink the Clown. We didn't have, like, the closest
he was
thing.
The right guy at the right time. Like, they were... Talk about, you know, the whole little bastard thing. They were going PG, and he was honestly a huge part of that. Like, you saw Hornswoggle, and for better or worse, you were like, this is what WWE is right now.
And that's one of those things that I was pretty much just like, this is an embarrassing thing. I don't want people to think that I think that this is funny. Because I'm just pretty much across the board, I don't tend to think that kind of humor is funny. Partially because I feel like it is just sort of like laughing at somebody more than laughing with somebody. And partially because I just tend not to like a lot of like more slapsticky humor. Kind of depends, you know, everything can be funny in a certain circumstance and all. But like, I've never liked like the Three Stooges, for instance, at all.
Yeah, we're going to totally have to disagree there.
Yeah. And I typically don't like when somebody just like falls down and that's the joke, is that they fell. Especially if it's like, oh, and it's like a fat person that fell. Okay. Isn't it funny because a fat person fell?
Hold on a bit. Are you going to tell me that Chris Farley's basis around his humor is incorrect?
Now, Chris Farley does do really funny things.
And his whole basis was, I know my role, fatty fall down, people laugh.
But I always thought that the funnier things that he did were the things that were more like I like the Matt Foley character, but I don't laugh when he falls through the table.
Oh, we are, in this sense, we are two totally different people. Because that's the funniest thing in the world to me. He jumps right through the table.
Well, see, that's where we start getting into the minutia of it all. And this is totally not even Hornswoggle, but it's like, I'm going to explain how my brain works in some ways. I don't laugh that the joke is that he goes through the table. I laugh that Chris Farley was like, I'm far enough away from the table, but fuck it. Because he doesn't come close to tripping. He just launches himself.
He totally just jumps through the table. That is one of the funniest sketches in SNL.
It is great to see them cracking up and stuff. But like, now I say that saying like, if the joke is it's funny if fat guy falls. I typically don't laugh in a movie or whatever. But if there's actual footage of somebody that doesn't get hurt and they fall, and it's a real life situation, I think it's fucking hilarious. Like, I'll have to, I don't know if I sent it to you already or on TikTok. There's this video of this guy, and he's got like, I don't know if he's like late 50s or something, probably, I don't know. He's at least in his like 40s, if not 50s, and he's a big fella, and there's somebody else in the pool with like a big float, and he tells the guy, now when I tell you to pull out a little, and then he's like getting ready to jump, and he just goes to the edge of the pool, and he doesn't jump, and he already goes, ah, shit, and then he just fucking falls and starts trying to explain to himself, oh, I tried to like do this. And it's like, no, you just completely botched this, and it's fucking hilarious. So when Hornswoggle comes out and he runs around and he bites people in the ass, I'm like, why do I need to see this? This isn't funny. But when like a heel then just goes over the top and just like picks him up and launches him into the crowd or something, that I'm like, okay, now it's funny because you decided to take it to a different level. And I get why the character was so popular as well, because a lot of people really do like that type of humor, and it's supposed to be something for everybody. So you can't book pro wrestling for one type of audience, and that includes me. So XY in the chat, someone had to have requested this. It was Rob's idea.
It was my idea because it's St. Patrick's Day.
It was St. Patrick's Day. We could have done Becky Lynch.
We could have done Sheamus too, but
yeah, we could have done Sheamus. When's the next time we were going to do Hornswoggle, right? Yeah, you know. So with charisma and character in mind, with all that stuff, I don't think he gets a high score for charisma, because he wasn't really talking, wasn't really cutting promos. It's interesting that they didn't give him some kind of like, you know, mob boss type of character and make him like a manager of somebody in more of that way. Like, they could have done more with him, I think. And I think he could have pulled that off in like a fun way. But the character work as well, it's all over the, you know, very, very low for me. And then at the same time, it's like the character was around for like 10 fucking years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So you got to give him some credit for that. So I actually have him down as a 6 for both.
I have him down as a 5 for both. If for no other reason, like charisma, I understand what you're saying, but he did the absolute best he could. And I think it's baseline. As you said, he was around 10 years, maybe more than that. He was, all kidding aside, he did regularly fight for championships for a minute there. He was able to have fun sketches without even speaking sometimes, and a lot of that goes to his partners, but at the same time, you know, he was involved as well. So I give him a 5, and 5 on character, because to go back to the Chris Farley analogy, I think that, and this is coming from the personal experience of growing up, having a disability, knowing you need to laugh at yourself in order to, you know, get around the daily challenges of that. I think he did the best he could with, you know, making himself the butt of the joke. And even though I understand what you're saying, as like the average consumer was probably laughing at him, not with him, he was definitely laughing as well. And I think he was good at putting his foot down. If he didn't want to bite people on the ass, he wasn't going to bite people on it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I would hope at the very least that he would have been able to like speak up if there was something that was a problem to him.
Yeah, like he understood. So I give him a 5 on that, because again, absolute baseline, did the best he could. So 2 5s for me.
Catching up on some of the chat stuff. Rob is a legend for having requested this. Becky and Sheamus will be later. They still have big matches. Yeah, I mean, it is hard to do like superstar scores for people that are still. I mean, Becky hasn't come back yet, but you know, we do expect her to be back at some point. My first thought was, why not fit Finley for Peter? Yeah, I mean, we could have done Finley as well.
I think I would have been the only one with something to say if we did Finley.
Finley is a guy that I don't have much to really talk about. I would be like, he's a fine guy that was around for a while. And when I say fit Finley, who do you usually, like, what do you picture? Because I think Finley from like that like 2007 kind of range. I never think of WCW fit Finley.
When I think of Finley now, the first thing that enters my mind is, my name is Finley, and I love to fight.
Fucking obnoxious music. Good side character, though. Like a perpetual mid-carder who could, throw him in a match and he's going to have some fun moments. XY saying he said that they wanted him to be Big Nick from New Jersey, swimming in the dough, but he couldn't do the Jersey accent as per Sean Oliver's wrestling shoots.
I do enjoy his shoots. I think Dylan, again, I like I have never met the guy, but I think he's very self-aware. Like, I feel like I would get along with him, and I would have loved to have seen him do a mob boss gimmick or just something to the effect of actually having a lot of power.
I'm surprised that they really they didn't at some point give him that kind of a gimmick, give him somebody that was like a really big muscular dude to be like his bodyguard, like a Mason Ryan type, and give him some kind of like femme fatale sex pot type of diva on the roster, like a who would have worked in that spot, like that
would have been, that, like, thinking about
like
it,
a Rosa Mendez or something,
a Rosa Mendez or an Oksana, like, that would have been really fun.
I'm really surprised they didn't do that.
Also catching up on the chat here. No, I'm not fat shaming. I'm appreciating Chris Farley. He's a fucking man. He's the absolute best. X and Y says he hopes we get the other contributors on for a special occasion soon. I imagine at the very least Callum will be back within the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully so.
And then everybody else, that's up to you, Tony, because you're more in contact with them.
And that's up to them as well, being interested in doing some kind of a topic. But I have to figure out something that would be like that. But then as well, it also depends on if we're still doing the show. We still haven't figured that out yet.
That is true. XOI, I would assume you're making a joke, but just in case, gotta cover my bases.
Hornswoggle kisses AJ in the original NXT challenge. AJ kissed everybody. That was crazy. They just went through the fucking gang with her.
In the case of Hornswoggle, it wasn't. Wasn't he the actual challenge? Like, who ended up? Was it Maxine? They ended up spotting Maxine backstage with him.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
I remember AJ did end up kissing everybody. Must have been a fun time to be on that roster.
Hornswoggle's just kind of like, I volunteer to be on NXT.
Again, like the man knew.
Wouldn't blame him, Where did we leave off? We did charisma character. So we are on the appearance side of this, which is physique and entrance. They are very self-explanatory. I don't think I really need to explain what physique and entrance are about. Obviously, entrance is about their title wins. Like, yeah, you know what it is. It's their entrance. So physique-wise, I mean, let's put it this way. You're not going to have him be the WWE champion beating Randy Orton. You're just not going to do that.
So, like, I ended up, again, going with the baseline because, like, he's got a good physique for his frame. He's not going to be... we're grading on a curve here, kind of. It's like he looks good for Hornswoggle, and it wasn't like he ever needed to spotlight his physique, and I think that helps.
Well, it's important as well to keep in mind, physique is something that is on a curve, because somebody like a Batista doesn't have the same physique as Rey Mysterio. And then when you compare one to the other. You can't just be like, well, Rey Mysterio needs to get a 1 because Batista's got a 10 and there's a difference in size. Like it doesn't quite work that way. But when you apply to somebody like who's like a really out of shape, bad score person, like, because there's super heavyweights that are also like, okay, well, Bronson Reed doesn't have the same physique as like a Batista, but at the same time, Bronson Reed can move around in the fucking ring, and his gimmick is that he's fucking big and it works. You know, Bam Bam Bigelow was more athletic than fucking Ric Flair was, and Ric Flair had a thinner physique than Bam Bam Bigelow did. So you have to kind of grade on that little bit of a curve. I only went with a 4 though, because I would compare him to like an El Torito, and El Torito was more fit.
You don't know that.
You can tell by looking at him.
He's wearing the Giant Gonzalez bodysuit. You don't know if El Torito was fit.
It wasn't Giant Gonzalez. It was a Torito.
It definitely wasn't Giant Gonzalez. I think I think 5 is fine.
I think it's funny, by the way, the JBL told a joke on he was on like guest spotting for Bruce Pritchard, and he said that anytime that Hornswoggle would say that he's not happy about something, he would end up being like, oh, well, which one of the other ones are you?
Oh,
it's like, God damn it. You know,
he did an interview recently.
JBL or Hornswoggle?
Yeah, Hornswoggle, and he says he refers to himself as a midget, and the look on Chris Van Vliet's face when he says it, because like he's just like, oh God, I don't know what to do here. I always like that Dylan gets people all flustered with that. Again, I appreciate a lot of the out of character stuff for Hornswoggle so much.
And I haven't, for anybody that's curious as well as like to grading purposes, I've never seen his work outside of WWE when he's just Swoggle. I've never seen a match of his where...
Has he done a lot of it? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's done some appearances here and there because he ended up doing like the whole switch over to the Swoggle thing, but I've not seen clips of it or anything.
Did you at least see JBL throw the crash can at him again?
Oh, did that happen again?
Yeah, they just did that like 2 weeks ago, or like it was probably like a month ago at this point. But he went to the show that he runs in Wisconsin and just threw the trash can at him.
No, I didn't see that, but that's pretty great that they were just like, let's just do that again.
I will say I liked when he went to TNA and he did the AJ Styles thing, but he did the Wee nominal one. Like, again, the Hornswoggle fucking rules.
See, I didn't see that either. Didn't even know that was a thing.
He's good because I think that's when the Good Brothers went back after they originally got released. And they're like, yeah, we brought AJ back too, but it's they play AJ's music and then it's just Hornswoggle in AJ gear too. It's phenomenal. No pun intended.
So what do you got for entrance? Because I have a 5.
I got a 2. Fuck that song. Fuck.
The song fits the gimmick.
I don't care. I don't hear it. It's like I never like the. Well, we're just gonna lean super heavy into the stereotype, and I get that was his whole thing, but it was too much. It was a step too far for me.
So let's switch over to behavior, and this one I don't know much about his stuff at all. Backstage professionalism and public relations. I would kind of default to most people to give them 7s because it's just like, well, if I haven't heard anything bad, I assume that they're fine. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't have any kind of like big issues with anybody. There's no like, he refused to do this. You know, it's not going to work for me, brother type of moments. He's done Make-A-Wish stuff though that I've seen, like, so that's like a positive. That's a better score on that front. I don't know, 7 and 7.
I believe I also have 7-7. Yep, I have 7-7 because he seems like a good dude. He has friends backstage. He also, going back to the Sean Oliver kayfabe commentary stuff. I think it was the bag of dicks where like Sean Oliver would be like,
I like those gimmicks.
Like, who's the dick? Hey, gets Brock Lesnar and Dylan again. I love the self-awareness. Just goes, well, he wasn't great to me, but Brock Lesnar doesn't have to be a nice person to me. He's Brock Lesnar. Like, I just respect so much the self-awareness of that guy, and if nothing else, he's a 10 in the sense that I'd like to hang out with him, but I give him two 7s.
It's always hard to judge the things that we are completely unaware of. Like,
giving him the old George Bush, I'll have a beer with that guy.
We got Ashton in the chat as well now. What's up, you buttes? What's up your way? And XOI saying, I love Meechin's twerking gimmick.
Don't we all?
Look, I'm not gonna give her low points for that at all. It was a good moment on SmackDown.
Meechin should challenge the women to a twerk off. Get Stephanie McCare, Carmen Petrovic, Gigi Dolan, Fallon Henley, Tatum Paxley, Nikita Lyons, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade. Look, buddy, we can't just go back to 2005 and fulfill your fantasy battle royals. We're not doing that. But, respect for the lineup you've got there.
And I can think of some more that could go onto there too. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to complain about Rhea Ripley being on there. Yeah.
Look, I think that the girls have had a lot more fun. Rhea Ripley, for like a good 6 months last year, was making a habit of doing the stink face at house shows.
Mm-hmm.
Good time. It did.
That's a different way to get people on the card for WrestleMania, right?
I highly doubt that's going on WrestleMania.
So that rounds us out to go to the final two categories under crowd reaction, which are popularity and credibility. Popularity is pretty much just on the fandom side of things, as far as like, do people actually like to see this person perform? Are they popular on Twitter? Or, are they selling a lot of merchandise? Whatever those, like, we don't know the numbers for that kind of stuff, but you can kind of tell, if it's a big pop for somebody to come out, they're popular. If nobody gives a shit, well, then the likelihood that they're selling a lot of merch is probably pretty low. And credibility is more their kayfabe, actual, like, what would you rank them on 2K kind of a thing? What are their championships? What are their big accolades? Who would they beat? Who would you assume that they could beat? And now we talked about this earlier, that it was brought up that he is the last of the cruiserweight champions for that one thing. I still don't know why they didn't just continue the lineage and they wanted to like reset it. But WWE's just doing weird things like that. Look at the World Heavyweight title.
Well, to be fair, I think they reset it because there was 8 years in between.
Yeah, even still. Let's go ahead and say,
and the last champion was Hornswoggle. I think that's another good reason. They were like, new era, new lineage.
I think you should only do a new lineage if the title has a different name. And when you go with Cruiserweight Championship and Cruiserweight Championship, okay, they should just say the same. But he is the last of those Cruiserweight champions. However, that's not like the belt.
DX.
It's not like the belt was really meaning a whole lot, and it's not like they gave it to him to be a legitimate Cruiserweight champion. Like, to be on par with what Chavo was, or Helms, or, you know what I mean? Like, they did it for a gag. Because it was like, it'd be funny if Hornswoggle won the title where he's not the heavyweight champion and all. So I'm not giving a lot of points to the Cruiserweight Championship, but it is a championship regardless of, the circumstances. So it is still something. But if Hornswoggle were to beat anybody at any moment, it's played for a laugh.
Yeah, I gave him a 1.
I gave him a 1 as well, which is like, it sounds awful, but it's like, look, it's realistic. if you had like somebody that has like a low score for me is Buff Bagwell. Another one that has a low score for me is Santino. Santino, I only have it a 3 for credibility, which is like that sounds kind of crazy that Santino's got a 3, but Santino, again, he won multiple championships, but he was always a gag. And when Santino almost won the Royal Rumble, people liked it because they liked Santino and they also thought it was funny. Now, if you would have had Santino go through Royal Rumble and eliminate like a Brock Lesnar and a Goldberg and a fucking Kane and all that stuff, it would have been like, well, what happened? Like, why are we making this like silly? And if Hornswoggle were to be in the ring with, say, I don't know, Solo Sikoa and beat him, it would be like, why are you burying Solo? So I got to go 1 on credibility on that front. And popularity, he was popular enough, but he also, I can't give him a 6, like somebody that I would have given a 6 to was like a Shane McMahon or somebody. So the most I can give him for popularity is probably a 4.
I give him a 6.
I can't go that high.
I'm factoring in the children here.
But were the children super into Hornswoggle, or were they more so just like they kind of like giggle for a minute and then they pay attention to John Cena?
This might shock you, but I can't say that I have sourced my feelings here and reached out to some people who were children at the time. So I'm gonna go on crowd reaction, and like people used to be excited. I mean, he did do a lot of the charity work. People were always happy to meet him. The reason I take off the other 4 points is for the rest of the crowd that was just like, this is everything that's wrong with wrestling. So I feel like a 6 is fair.
What about you guys in the chat? What would you give him for popularity and credibility? I'm gonna start tabulating our scores to try to get to the ultimate score that we got going on here. I'm also trying to figure out why I don't have my normal setup on this, because I normally have like the color coordinated thing and I for some reason don't. So that's a little bit weird, but it's not going to take me long to calculate that. And I'm already pretty much done. Look at that, killing some time. I see that Peter has a 1 out of 5. Ashton saying he made a bet in SummerSlam. So wait,
hold on. Did Hornswoggle, was he involved legitimately in like a main event at some point? Am I forgetting something?
Wait. I mean, we're talking about an era now that's too far
that's
gone for
something
me.
where they would have done it. Like, I'm not saying there's no way that happened, because they would have. He would have absolutely been in.
They said Solo, that is.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I'm like, wait, at some point was it like the Hornswoggle and like Kennedy and somebody or whatever?
Like Hornswoggle and somebody like in the Nexus era or something.
So XY is asking, can we name some other scores for popularity from the past? Like, so my 10s, I only have 3 10s, and they were Undertaker, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin. Now I had some 9s that were Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, Sting, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, Rowdy Piper, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. My 4 is Steve Blackman. I got a 5, I think, out there somewhere. I got like a 6 for Bob Holly. So the lowest score that I've given anybody was a 4 for Steve Blackman for popularity.
Looks and like then the lowest score I gave was a 3 to Buff Bagwell.
I probably gave him a 5 for popularity.
I have the 10s I have are Sting, CM Punk, Steve Austin, Undertaker. Like those are 10s.
So my ultimate score comes out to a 48.
Mine comes out to a 46. I'm shocked that even by 2 points, that you were nicer than me on anything, quite frankly. But
and it bounces out to a 47. Now we don't have Callum's score, and we'll try to get Callum's because it's like 10 o'clock at night, like Callum's asleep. But we'll try to get Callum's score and factor that in. I'm very curious to see if Callum's like, you guys went straight up to damn near 50. I'd give him a, an 11 or something like
I'm
that.
assuming he's gonna give him lows.
He's not actually the lowest score for me. I still have Buff Bagwell out of 46. Okay, wow. So Buff Bagwell's still my lowest.
Maybe we should reconsider poor Buff.
What did I give him so low scores for? So I gave Buff a 5 for athleticism, 5 for psychology, 6 for charisma, 6 for character, a 9 for physique, because he's buff, he had the stuff, a 3 for entrance. What was even his entrance?
That's why you gave him a 3.
It must be that. Well, he had the NWO entrance, and he also had American males, which is like fucking dumb.
Well, that's like a 10 right there. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Oh, so I guess it really tanks his score that I gave him very low scores for backstage professionalism, for public relations, and for credibility. But even then, I gave Buff Bagwell a 3 for credibility, so it's like I can't go.
It's wild that I gave Buff a 47, and I gave Bob Holly, I gave a 49. I must really not like Bob Holly. I gave him a very low score.
I'm bumping Buff Bagwell up to a 4 for credibility, though. Because realistically, you could probably like a 4 or 5. So he's still lower than Hornswoggle, funny enough, by 1 point. But, yeah.
Yeah, who's got the stuff now? Swoggle's got the stuff, that's who.
So 48 and a 46 comes out to a 47. And that puts him, pretty much at like the bottom of this list for the most part. I think out of the averages, he would be the lowest out of everybody. Yeah, because it would just a little bit behind Buff Bagwell at 48.33. How about Mickie James and Michelle McCool for superstar scores? Both relevant now. Michelle McCool would definitely get a better score.
We probably will do Michelle. Did we do Mickie? I feel like we did Mickie.
No. We've only done a few women. We did AJ Lee, Paige, Ronda Rousey, and actually that might be it. Those might be the only women that we had done.
Yeah, you've done it. So I'm looking at you now. You have a few ones in the can.
Yeah, I have Trish, and I have Lacey Evans.
That's
for when,
a choice.
I think it's because I thought that we were going to do that week that she had gotten released. And then I did it ahead of time, but then we ended up doing something else. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just save that. If I already did the work. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say. She ended up with a 57 at the time for me. I need to find all my Pokemon I caught and nickname after Smark out moment and show them. That'd be good. Michelle McCool and Mickie James, though. Yeah, we could do those. Mickie would get a higher score to me than Michelle McCool would. Most likely.
Yeah, Mickey's she's done so much in the industry.
I mean, I say that, but at the same time, I'm like, well, there's things that I would rank Michelle better than Mickie, and who knows, I might end up actually balancing out. I like Mickie more than Michelle, so I assume.
Michelle is great. I think Michelle is somewhat I don't want to say underrated, because she did get to do a lot, but I think a lot of people focus in on the why she got to do so much, and not the fact that she really was that good, especially at the time.
Mandy Rose should do superstar scores, like that she should fill out her scores, or that we should do a Mandy Rose one. I mean, I could think of a high score for two things. But the game plan isn't really necessarily to jump on any of these names, because Lex Luger was also one that we were thinking about doing. But we could, if people are interested and they want more superstar scores, so we could do superstar scores for Luger and for Michelle McCool because they're in the Hall of Fame.
Do you want more live?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we did this live,
also, do you like
I was surprised.
The fact that we went live? tonight
spontaneously,
and on a Monday night. We can't do that normally.
Yeah.
But hey, it's something that we did.
Yeah, if you guys like this, let us know, because that's more of an option for us to do in the future. And it doesn't have to be Superstar Scores that we go live for. It could be an announce table. It could end up being just a random discussion. It could be a dark cast for those people that are subscribed to that. All kind of depends. Peter's still waiting for a bad superstar like Greg Colley or Mabel. We just did a Hornswoggle one though.
Listen. Mabel was great. Okay, like.
Whoop! There it is.
Mabel is the foundation of our friendship. Okay.
In the future, everything will end up getting done at some point.
So XOI says he likes the live shows.
So maybe we do more of those. I don't know.
Yeah, Peter, what do you think? We want some input from our 2-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Ashton, Christopher, everybody that's here.
You're the man. What do you think about what we've done here tonight and just going live more in the future? I like it, but I'm also just like, yay, we got rid of Raw 5 hours ago.
Yeah, it's so much better. So those Superstar Scores are in the bank, and we might at some point in the future do some kind of a recalculation or something like that if we need to, but I would assume we probably wouldn't want to change our scores too much. We'll try to get Callum's at some point too. And I don't know the next podcast that you guys are going to be hearing from us, but it will probably be the Dark Cast, because we're actually thinking about potentially recording something when we get done with this, which should, I guess, potentially be up tomorrow. Depends on if we do that or whatever. And keep in mind, of course, if you want to subscribe to the different tiers that are on there, if you subscribe to the Dark Cast tier, you get access to that. That's kind of the whole point.
Right now, I'd like to give Vince McMahon all zeros on Superstar Scores.
I did a Vince score.
Before all the nonsense, I'm sure.
No. I did it, I think, when he got fired the first time.
So, before a little bit of the nonsense.
And I'll spoil one thing. He got a -3 for me on public relations.
I think we could bump that up a little bit. -7, negative.
Yeah. Not a good score for Vince McMahon. I have a Chris Benoit one. I have a Hulk Hogan one. I have a John Cena one. The John Cena one's going to have to potentially change now that he is turned heel. And that's doing some fun stuff.
That's your Christmas Day episode. Like,
probably something like that. Yeah. But the Darkcast stuff, keep all that in mind too. Keep all the Discord stuff in mind, all this marketplace things that I mentioned too. And of course, make sure that you follow us on the Linktree things at amagotree.com. You can find all my accounts there, at least as far as the things I bothered to put up there. There's plenty other that I just was like, nobody's going to follow me on this thing. It doesn't fucking matter. Who's going to follow me on Muckrock, for instance, or whatever. But if you follow me on those places, make sure you're following Rob too.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. That's Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Letterboxd now. I'm on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Reviewed the new Looney Tunes movie because I am a giant child. And that brings us back to Hornswoggle. I'm actually excited to do more movie reviews and just kind of write more about something that isn't professional wrestling.
It's always fun to dip into a different pool. And that's going to do us in for this episode. So thank you for listening, everybody. Let us know what you want us to do for next week, because we don't have a plan yet for next week. So that's still up in the air as well. And we will see you either in the Darkcast or on the hot tags if you're not in the Darkcast here. And if you're not in the Darkcast here, you should join that one. And then join us there. But adios for now. This has been another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.